Hi guys, so this week I just wanted to do a quick sort of update slash overview of what I'm going to try and do next. So I'd finished off the base on our finial, fairly happy with the way she's come out. Still not a huge fan of the skin tones, but yeah, we can live with it. I haven't actually finished off her face, to be honest. I haven't touched her since the last time, but for the purposes of the video series that I was putting together, I'm happy that she's done. So, learned a lot doing her, certainly about the sort of video aspects of things, and sort of tried out some new techniques on the metallics and things like that. Quite happy with the way she's turned out overall. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it and learned a little bit. So what's next, essentially? So I think the next thing was probably going to be, painting wise, certainly I was hoping to do this one, the Kitty Raymer from Studio 75. I was hoping to paint her up because I think it would be a lot easier to work with a larger miniature, certainly on camera. I mean, as you can see in comparison, she's a lot bigger than the Alphanil I was painting up. So she should be a lot easier to sort of really get in on the details and really sort of work on actually being able to see sort of the blending and what's going on and everything like that, and maybe even sort of get in there and sort of really sort of get in close and paint eyes and things like that, because they're, well, technically 3 times the size of Alphanil's. However, given that she's a 40 quid miniature, give or take, I really wanted to do a good job of her. Now, I've done all the sort of gap filling. We saw the video where I was doing the gap filling, and that's worked quite nicely. I'm happy with the way that's turned out, and the umbrella's separate as well. So I was quite looking forward to actually painting it. However, I have completely and utterly failed to come up with a colour scheme I like. Also, I wanted to do a sort of a diorama base for her, and I have no idea what I want to do as a diorama for her. If anybody has any suggestions, please feel free to put them in the comments. But otherwise, I mean, I don't really know, and I hate trying to go into a miniature with no clue of what I'm doing. It's one of my sort of bugbears. I like planning ahead, personally. I know there's sort of plenty of painters out there who will just sort of go in and they'll quite happily just paint up something and bosh, done, off they go, and it looks absolutely fantastic and they've just made it up off the top of their heads, and that's fantastic. I can't do it, just cannot do it. I have to know what I'm painting, what colours I'm painting beforehand. Now, I was thinking about a sort of purple, sort of purplish reddish affair, and the box art has her in a sort of green outfit, which is quite nice. I mean, I quite like it. It's not the colours I'd choose, and one thing I am trying to get away from in the painting that I do is using the sort of the studio colour scheme, because I have a tendency of painting in the studio colour scheme for things, and I want to try and get away from that. I want to try and sort of develop my own colour schemes for things and begin to sort of look at painting from that point of view. So although I will at some point be painting her, definitely, because she's going to give me a chance to get the old airbrush out and actually sort of go to town on sort of new techniques for using the airbrush and things like that I really want to try out. And for the moment, I'm going to do a quick unboxing of what's probably going to be the next sort of miniature that I paint for the channel. So I'll just move all of this lot out the way and we shall have a look. So, as you can see, it's an Ax Faction miniature. If you don't know them, they're a company that started, I think, probably about 2 years ago. maybe 3 years ago, and they've produced basically a set of boutique miniatures. I'm not sure how many they've produced so far, but they've certainly done a fair number. I'd say probably it's north of 10 now. It's got to be north of 10. So this is Jotnars Bane. I've got one or two of their others as well, and they're particularly nice miniatures. This one, the packing's quite interesting because it's got some fairly bulky pieces in it, and the packing was in a tiny little box with no padding, which not a huge fan of, I have to admit. This surprised me. I mean, in all fairness, I picked this up from Salute, directly from the company, so I wasn't worried about it being shipped or anything. But if this is their standard packaging, I'd hope that they at least stick it in a jiffy bag or something along those lines to actually sort of protect it during transport, because otherwise it's just sort of there, really. So here we go. Get the bag open. Now this is a essentially a female barbarian who is standing on the top of a troll skull. So as you can see, we've got skull, a head. So you've got half of the head and the other half of the head. The details on it are absolutely fantastic, and the sculpting and the actual casting of it is really good, and you've got a lot of sort of surface detail in there, and you can go to town on the eye. There's plenty of room on the eye and the teeth. Really nice, and there's plenty of little cuts and things that you could do depending on sort of how you wanted to paint it up. And the other half, it just joins together. There's the odd bit of flashing here and there, but it's actually really minimal. So it goes together absolutely fantastically. I mean, a little bit of gap filling maybe down the side there, but across the top is virtually flawless. It really is. You don't often get miniatures that will stick together like that straight out of the box. So that's and it fits very nicely in a base as well. It actually has, where is it? There it is. It actually has a sort of a base that you fit onto it, which will also help keep it together, and that then fits obviously inside of your standard sort of 30mm base. So it will, if you want it to, it will sit like that, but you can quite happily just get rid of those, and that's perfectly flat. So you can quite happily sit that on the ground, and you can build yourself a little sort of diorama and things around it. Now the back of it is going to need some fairly serious cleanup. It's really not designed to be viewed from that angle, so you're going to want, I mean, these are all going to need cleaning off anyway, but it's got sort of a strange sort of cut angle on it, as though it's been sort of chopped through several times. I mean, it is sculpted. There are sort of sculptings on the back of it, but you're probably not going to want to show it off that way around too much. From what I remember from the pictures, it's meant to be shown off this way around. So there we go. The lass herself is going to be another study in skin tones, so that'll be interesting. She comes in several parts. We have sword arms, which I think has actually possibly fallen off there, maybe, difficult to tell, but we've got sword arms, we've got an axe arm, and we've got her leg. So as you can see, I'll bring it in close. Some very nice details on it. Not a huge amount of detail necessary, to be honest. There's a little bit of dodgy casting, or sort of, well, probably flashing, to be honest. There are sort of pin marks, or sort of pinning bits that you can sort of fit fit into them to put it together, but in all honesty it's a resin piece, it's probably not going to need them. The hair's quite nicely sculpted. There's definitely a lot of work gone into this. The face is very nice, sort of shouting upwards, and there's not a huge amount of other detail. She's wearing a sort of belt round her top which has got a sort of cross-hatching pattern put into it, so you could do a sort of alternate squares sort of harlequin effect on it if you really wanted to. She's also got essentially a sort of loincloth type thing going on, and yeah, so clean up her leg, and she essentially stands, I think it's something like that on the actual head, or it's possibly like that, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, so the other leg sort of fits on there like that, so she's got a sort of stepping look to her. And again, I'll put a picture so that you can see sort of what the final product is supposed to look like, and the artwork and things. But yeah, there's also a some sort of hawk creature. I'm not entirely sure where that goes. It might just be a sort of extra, or it might actually sort of fit somewhere. Not sure. I'll have a look. But you've definitely got an axe arm, axe in one hand, it looks like, axe in a left arm, sword in her right, by the looks of things, judging by the way she's holding them. So they could be good. Get some, try and do some non-metallic metals on those maybe, that kind of thing. So all in all, I mean, yeah, it's going to need clean up. It's a resin sculpt. It's got the usual sort of gates and things like that that'll need cleaning up and scraping off, but as far as sort of mould lines go, I mean, it's, to be perfectly honest, it's virtually flawless. These are incredibly nice sculpts. I'm just looking on the body to see if I can see any mould lines at all, and there's a slight one going down the leg there, and you've got a bit of, actually a fairly major bit of flashing there that'll need taking out. That'll just, no, oh, sorry, that'll just need a bit of scraping off there. But beyond that, I mean, she's actually really quite clean as far as the actual moulding goes. Can't see anything majorly wrong with her. So yeah, so hopefully this will be the next paint job. Alright, I'll catch you guys later.